The modern truck market has officially lost its mind. You are being asked to hand over $85,000 for a vehicle that will be worth $45,000 in 3 years, that comes loaded with emissions equipment engineered to fail right after the warranty expires, and that requires a $200 diagnostic scan every time a sensor gets confused. I have been working on diesel engines for 19 years, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that the trucks rolling off the assembly line today are not built to last. They are built to generate service revenue. But there is a group of drivers who figured this out years ago, and they stopped playing the game entirely. They went back to the 1990s, back to the era when a diesel truck was still a tool and not a rolling smartphone. These guys are buying 25-year-old machines, spending a weekend in the driveway getting them dialed in, and then driving them for the next 500,000 miles without a single check engine light. Today, I am walking you through exactly why smart drivers are ignoring every new truck on the lot and going straight to 1990s iron. And I am going deep on the specific models that are bulletproof, where to find them, what to inspect, and how to avoid the clapped-out examples that will drain your wallet. If you want a truck that works as hard as you do and does not come with a monthly payment that feels like a second mortgage, you cannot ignore what I am about to show you. Let's get into it. The first thing you need to understand is what happened to diesel trucks after the year 2007. That was the year the EPA mandated diesel particulate filters on every new heavy-duty diesel sold in America. The DPF is a canister in your exhaust system that traps soot, and when it fills up, the truck goes into what is called a regeneration cycle, where it heats the exhaust to over 1,100 degrees to burn off the trapped particles. Sounds good on paper, right? In practice, it is a disaster. If you do a lot of short trips and the truck never gets hot enough to complete a regen cycle, that DPF clogs up. When it clogs, the truck derates, meaning it cuts power and speed to protect itself. You limp to the dealership. They pull the DPF, clean it or replace it, and hand you a bill for anywhere between $1,500 and $4,000. I had a guy last month, his name was Eddie, who bought a 2015 Ram 2500 with a 6.7 Cummins. Beautiful truck, loaded, leather interior, all the features. He used it to tow his landscape trailer around town, mostly 10 to 15-mile trips. Within 2 years, he was on his third DPF. His total repair bills were over $8,000, and the truck had 73,000 miles on it. He finally sold it at a loss and bought a 1997 Dodge Ram with the 12-valve Cummins. That was 4 years ago. He is now over 420,000 miles on that 1997, and his total maintenance cost has been oil changes, a set of injectors, and one steering box. The DPF is just one piece of the emissions puzzle. In 2010, they added selective catalytic reduction, which is the system that requires diesel exhaust fluid. You have probably seen the blue jugs at the truck stop. DEF systems use sensors to monitor fluid quality and injection rates, and those sensors fail constantly. When they fail, the truck goes into limp mode. You are stuck on the side of the highway with a completely functional engine that has been shut down by a $340 sensor. I am not making this up. According to data released by the Small Business Administration in early 2025, DEF sensor failures were costing American truck owners over $4 billion per year in downtime and repair costs. $4 billion to keep trucks compliant with a system that does not measure actual emissions. It just checks whether the right parts are installed and reporting correctly. Now let's go back to the 1990s. In that era, a diesel truck had an engine, a transmission, a transfer case if it was four-wheel drive, and a fuel system. That was it. No particulate filter, no DEF tank, no sensors monitoring every breath the engine takes. The most complex thing on a 1990s diesel was the injection pump, and even that was a mechanical unit you could rebuild on your kitchen table if you had the manual and a weekend. I want to focus on 3 specific trucks from this era, because these are the ones I see crossing 400,000 and 500,000 miles in my shop without major engine work. The first one is the 1994 to 1998 Dodge Ram with the 12-valve Cummins. This engine is a legend for a reason. It was built by Cummins, not Chrysler, and it was GNE'd for industrial and agricultural use before it ever went into a pickup truck. That means it was over-engineered from day one. The 12-valve Cummins has no computer controlling the fuel delivery. It uses a mechanical injection pump made by Bosch, either a P7100 or a VE pump depending on the year, and that pump is completely analog. You could submerge this engine in an EMP blast and it would still run as long as it had fuel and air. The stigma with these trucks is that the interior is rough and the ride quality is not great. That is true. The seats feel like park benches and the dash is all hard plastic. But you are not buying this truck for the heated steering wheel. You are buying it because the engine will outlive you. Here is the mechanic's insider check when you go look at one of these. First, check the oil. Pull the dipstick and look at the color. It should be black. That is normal for a diesel, but it should not look like chocolate milk. If it is frothy or light brown, that is coolant mixing with oil, and that means a head gasket or a cracked head. Second, look at the fuel. These trucks have a mechanical lift pump that sits on the side of the engine, and it is a known weak point. If the lift pump is failing, the injection pump has to suck fuel instead of having it delivered under pressure. And that starves the engine and eventually kills the injection pump, which is a $2,000 part. The fix is simple. You install an aftermarket lift pump for about $150, and you never worry about it again. Third, get under the truck and look at the frame, especially near the steering box and the leaf spring mounts. These trucks came from the factory with frames that were not fully sealed, and in salt states, they rust. If the frame is solid, you are golden. A clean 12-valve Dodge from this era will run you anywhere from $8,000 to $18,000, depending on mileage and condition, and it will be the last truck you ever need to buy. The second truck is the 1992 to 1997 Ford F-250 with the 7.3-liter ID or the early 7.3-liter PowerStroke. Now, the ED is the indirect injection version, and it is slower than the later PowerStroke, but it is nearly indestructible. The EDI has no turbo in most configurations, and it uses a mechanical injection system that is dead simple. It will not win any races, but it will pull a loaded trailer all day long and ask for more. The early PowerStroke, which started in 1994.5, added a turbo and electronic controls, but it is still far simpler than anything built after 2003. I had a client named Ron who bought a 1995 F-350 crew cab with the IDI for $4,500. It had 210,000 miles on it, and the body had some dings. He used it on his farm to pull a gooseneck trailer loaded with cattle. That was in 2012. He sold it last year with 487,000 miles on the original engine and transmission. He changed the oil every 5,000 miles, replaced the glow plugs twice, and put one set of injectors in it at around 310,000 miles. His total cost of ownership, including purchase price and all maintenance and repairs, was under $12,000 over 11 years. Compare that to a guy making $850 a month payments on a new Super Duty. Over 11 years, that is over $112,000 just in payments, and that does not include the $7,000 in emissions repairs he will likely face. The mechanic check for the 7.3 is straightforward. Listen to the engine at idle. It should have a rhythmic clatter that is normal for a diesel. But if you hear a loud knocking that changes with RPM, that could be a rod bearing or a cracked piston. Not common, but it happens. Check for oil leaks around the valve covers and the rear main seal. Those are cheap fixes, but they tell you how the truck was maintained. And if it is a PowerStroke, look for oil in the valley between the cylinder heads. That is a sign the injector O-rings are leaking, which is a common issue but also a fairly inexpensive fix if you catch it early. You can find a solid 7.3 Ford for anywhere between $6,000 and $15,000. And once you replace the worn bushings and do a full fluid service, you have a truck that will run for decades. The third option, and this one flies under the radar, is the 1988 to 1990 3 Chevrolet and GMC trucks with the 6.2-liter or 6.5-liter Detroit diesel. Now, I know what you are thinking. You have heard that the 6.5 is a grenade, and you are partially right. The 6.5 turbo diesel from the mid-1990s had issues with cracked blocks and failed injection pumps, but the earlier 6.2-liter, which is naturally aspirated and fully mechanical, is a different animal. It is not fast. It makes about 130 horsepower on a good day, but it is reliable and it sips fuel. I see these engines go 300,000 and 400,000 miles all the time, and they are dirt cheap to buy. You can pick up a square-body Chevy with a 6.2 diesel for under $5,000 if you are patient, and that truck will start every morning and run forever as long as you do not ask it to tow 15,000 pounds up a mountain. The insider check here is simple. These engines are known for having weak glow plug systems, so in cold weather they can be hard to start. If you live somewhere cold, you will want to install a block heater or an upgraded glow plug controller. Also, check the injection pump for leaks. If it is weeping fuel, it needs to be rebuilt or replaced, but that is a $600 part, not a $4,000 disaster. The 6.2 Detroit is the budget option for someone who wants a diesel work truck and does not need to impress anyone at the stoplight. Now, let's talk about why these trucks make financial sense, and I mean real dollars, not just feelings. Let's say you go out today and buy a 2024 Ford F-250 with the 6.7 PowerStroke. You are financing $80,000 at 7% interest over 72 months. Your payment is $1,150 a month. Over 6 years, you will pay over $82,000 for that truck. At the end of those 6 years, the truck will be worth maybe $35,000 if you are lucky, because heavy-duty trucks depreciate fast and diesel trucks with emissions problems depreciate even faster. So you have lost $47,000 in value. Plus, you paid $82,000 total, which means your total cost is $47,000 in lost equity. Now, add in the fact that you will likely face at least one major emissions repair in that time. Let's say $30,500 for a DPF and some sensors. Your real cost of ownership is over $50,000. Now compare that to buying a 1996 Dodge 12-valve for $12,000. You pay cash. You spend $2,000 getting it perfect. New tires, full fluid service, a lift pump, maybe a steering box. You are all in for $14,000. You drive it for 6 years. At the end of 6 years, that truck is worth $12,000, maybe more, because these trucks are appreciating now. You have lost $0 in depreciation, and your total cost of ownership is $14,000. You just saved $36,000. That is a down payment on a house. That is a year of your kid's college. That is retirement money. And here is the kicker. That 1,990 seconds truck does not have a computer that a dealership can lock you out of. It does not require $200 diagnostic scans. You can fix almost everything on it in your driveway with hand tools. A local mechanic can work on it without needing a $15,000 scan tool. You are not trapped in the dealership service loop. There is also the freedom factor. A 1990s diesel does not care about emissions testing in most states. A lot of states exempt vehicles over 25 years old from any kind of sniffer test or OBD2 scan. That means you can register it as a historic vehicle or an antique, and the STA stops caring what comes out of your tailpipe. You are not worried about a check engine light 2 days before your inspection is due. You are not paying a shop to clear codes so you can pass. You are just driving. I want to be clear about something. I am not saying these old trucks are perfect. They are not. The ride is rough. The interiors are basic. They do not have backup cameras or lane departure warnings or heated seats. If you need those things, this is not for you. But if you need a truck that starts, runs, tows, and does not cost you a fortune in payments and repairs, there is no better option. The other thing people worry about is parts availability. They think a 30-year-old truck means you will be hunting for parts in junkyards. That is not true for these 3 trucks. The 12-valve Cummins has a massive aftermarket. You can get every single part for that engine from multiple suppliers, brand new, for less than OEM Dodge parts cost. The 7.3 Ford is the same. There are entire companies that exist just to supply parts for that engine. And the 6.2 Detroit shares parts with military Humvees, so the supply chain is basically infinite. You are not going to be stranded because a part does not exist. Let me tell you about a guy I know named Carl. Carl is a carpenter, does high-end custom homework. He bought a 2018 Ram 2500 with the 6.7 Cummins because he thought he needed a new truck to look professional in front of clients. 3 years in, he had replaced the DPF twice, the DEF system once, and the truck had 68,000 miles. He was paying $740 a month, and he still owed $38,000 on it. He sold it, took a loss, and bought a 1998 Dodge 2500 with the 12-valve Cummins and 160,000 miles for $13,000. He deleted the payments. He deleted the stress. That was 2 years ago, and he just rolled over 240,000 miles. His only repair was a track bar and a set of shocks. He told me he sleeps better now because he does not have a truck payment hanging over him, and his clients do not care what year his truck is, as long as he shows up on time and does good work. That is the reality. The people who care what year your truck is are not the people paying your bills. Another thing that is happening right now is that these 1990s trucks are starting to appreciate. I am seeing clean 12-valve Dodges sell for more today than they sold for 5 years ago. The same is true for low-mileage 7.3 Fords. The market is figuring out that these trucks are the last of a generation, the last mechanical diesels before emissions regulations turn them into maintenance nightmares. Collectors are starting to pay attention, but more importantly, working guys are paying attention. They are realizing that a $15,000 truck that runs forever is a better investment than an $80,000 truck that loses half its value in 4 years. This is not nostalgia. This is math. If you are thinking about going this route, here is my advice. Do not buy the first truck you see. Be patient. Look for trucks that have service records. A truck with a stack of oil change receipts is worth $2,000 more than one with no history, because you know it was maintained. Do not be afraid of higher mileage. A diesel with 250,000 miles that was maintained is a better buy than one with 100,000 miles that was beaten and neglected. Check the frame, check for rust, check the oil, listen to the engine. If it runs smooth and does not smoke excessively, you are probably good. Bring a mechanic with you if you are not confident. It is worth $100 to have someone who knows what they are looking at give you a second opinion. And once you buy it, invest in making it right. Do all the fluids, do the filters, replace any worn suspension parts, install an aftermarket lift pump if it is a 12-valve Dodge. Go through the truck with fresh eyes and a service manual and make it perfect. Once you do that, you have a vehicle that will serve you for the rest of your life. The modern truck market wants you to believe that you need all the new technology. They want you to think that a truck without a tablet in the dash is somehow unsafe or outdated. But the reality is that a 1990s diesel is more reliable, more affordable, and more repairable than anything rolling off the line today. The guys who figured this out years ago are not going back. They are done with the payments. They are done with the emissions repairs. They are done with the dealership service departments that charge $180 an hour and tell you the computer says you need a new part. They went back to simplicity, and they are never looking back. If you have bought one of these trucks, drop a comment and tell me what year and model you went with and how many miles you have on it now. If you are thinking about it, tell me what is holding you back. And if you want more content on how to find, inspect, and maintain bulletproof older diesels, hit that subscribe button because I have got a lot more coming. I will see you in the next one.